I always imagine my last broadcast would be my dying breaths under the rubble after a missile strike, or ideally the day after victory. Saying, "Look what we have all achieved together."
Before we continue, we invite you to follow our channel, the only American show reporting live from Ukraine every day.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
Some mornings you wake up quite peacefully. There are no missile or drone attacks here today in Kyiv. In fact, we are in kind of this period of calm here, which has everyone a little bit always on edge. What's cooking, what's in store, and frankly, the thing that's been weighing on me is the cancellation of my daily show on WGN Radio. That's it's not going to go. That the emotions from that are not going to vanish so quickly because I've had time to think about it ever since the cancellation on Monday. That was my last show. I made that broadcast every single day, every weekday since February 24th, 2022. So the entire year of 2022, 2023, and 2024, I've been in places where I came under artillery fire. I've been in Donbass. I've been in Kharkiv, in the good times, and the bad times, and the scary times, and with that audience every single day. And I was thinking, when I made my last broadcast unexpectedly with the great host Bob Surratt, it was not his choice. It was the executives somewhere at the company that owns the company that owns the company who canceled it. I felt like I was at a funeral because I realized how connected I was to that show and what a key part. I mean, everything I did from my waking moments, I was thinking about, okay, what do I tell the audience today? How do I share this experience? And last night I had just a little bit of whiskey, and I read through the producers sent me pages and pages, like more than 30 pages of text messages, mainly from Chicago people, from people that listen to the radio, and it was nice to see how angry they were at the corporate management, and great to see their really thoughtful appreciation for that show. And I one thing I didn't get to say to them, which I'll say to those who are listening now, is everyone who listened to that, it was as though you were here in Ukraine, because they took 10 minutes of their day to listen to my stories and reporting from Ukraine every single day. And so for them, I would say it counts as though they were really a part of this. They really were part of this struggle and this resistance by tuning in every day. And I hope it is as meaningful to them as it was for me. So,
which side are you on? Which side are you on?
that was, amid all the other news, that's been on my mind heavily, but I'm very grateful that we're continuing these broadcasts, and I have friends like you to rejuvenate this, and I think we can really have some new potential here. And it's important that we continue every single day, weekdays at least, because there's so much going on, and if we don't take a few moments a day to look at it, we'll be overwhelmed.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
Well, I think if one, it's a bit of astonishment that, because in North Korea, we've known for months now, the North Korean soldiers were there in Russia, and the reaction has been so slow to it. And only now, I mean, from these battles over the weekend, there's video footage of two things: of people that look to be North Korean, and of Russians burning the faces of dead North Koreans to sort of disguise the fact, to hide the fact that there were North Koreans there in Kursk. And we have video evidence of that now. But the Ukrainians have known this for a while. And I remember even at Pentagon and White House press conferences, reporters would ask Biden administration officials, now this is a serious thing. What are you going to do about it? Are you going to give Ukraine permission to use the best American weapons that they have, the ATACMS, very precise weapons? Will you give Ukraine permission to hit the North Koreans and the Russians that are just over the border from Ukraine or in the Kursk region? And the White House's answer, 2 months ago was, well, we're not sure what the intentions are yet of the North Koreans. And Ukrainians were kind of laugh at that, saying, I mean, come on, what do you think they're there for, And now we see it. And what we see time and time again, whenever there has been a window of opportunity, it's wasted. When Ukrainians made that incursion into Kursk, Instead of cheering Ukraine on, the White House was sort of saying, they never gave Ukraine a full-fledged endorsement for doing that. It seems that they were very scared of Russia, and sort of all the headlines were about how Russia would retaliate. And time and time again, we see that Russia doesn't have a great retaliation. Russia was actually weakened by this. In fact, when Ukraine made the incursion into Kursk, in the late summer, in August, and at the same time, the headlines were saying that this Donbass city called Pokrovsk was going to fall imminently into Russian hands. That was the headline in late August, early September. Russians are marching on Pokrovsk. Pokrovsk is going to fall. They said that Pokrovsk has become a key supply center, which we always must remember. It's a key supply center because Odessa and Kyiv and other places are safe. This is far east in Donbass. Well, guess what? Pokrovsk has not fallen. The citizens have evacuated. The Russians are doing a lot to destroy it. The city is devastated, but the Russians are not there. And now it's December, and everyone, the experts said it was going to fall in early September. And I think we have to, at least imagine that Ukraine's advance into Kursk distracted Russia. Russia had to move resources, and it was actually a great move. But the problem, when Ukrainians did that, and it was a surprise, they kept it secret from Washington, so no one could stop them. If the White House had taken leadership there and said, "Okay, you've proved yourselves. Now we're going to give you more permission. We're going to give you precise weapons to really hold the line there," and that did not happen. And those 2 months were wasted. But meanwhile, Russia adapted. Well, when Russia was on its heels, they were weakened in September, and they said, "Okay, how do we get stronger?" And they turned to North Korea. And now there's North Korean troops here. We know that they were coming, and now they're in the battle. And we always have to wait, until it's too obvious and almost too late. And so I think there's a deep frustration with that policy. But because there's going to be a new administration, I will say there's a lot of relief here that the Biden policy is not going to continue. Now, that doesn't mean there's not anxiety about Trump, but there's relief that these current lethargic policies are coming to an end.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
Christina, I think, yeah, exactly. We have to step back and say, because we sort of get caught up in the details. It is absolutely scary and absurd. And I think, so many people, this narrative that Ukraine has to be so grateful to the world. But actually, I think, and I think Europeans, your family's from Poland. I think the Poles and the Baltic states feel gratitude for those who are holding the line, keeping this mess away from Central Europe and from Western Europe. And as we look at what's happening with Russian maneuvers to control countries like Romania, obviously Georgia, as well, and Moldova, there's no sense that Russia's going to stop. And now that bringing in, and not just North Koreans, but also the Iranian drones. And, Americans right now, so many are so worried about the drones in New Jersey, but they're missing the fact that there are Iranian drones attacking European cities almost every day. I can't tell you how many times I've heard them fly over my head.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
For example, when I look what all these Americans are saying about the drones in New Jersey, I don't know anything about it. I'm not here to offer insights on that. But what I can say is that Ukrainians know how to deal with drones, and they know how to deal with new types of drones. And whatever Russia throws at them, Ukrainians have to adapt and figure it out. And so, I think as we look at the shaping of the incoming Trump 2 administration, it's important for Ukraine, if Ukrainians, if they want support, to make the case that Ukraine can help America in a very material way, not just an emotional way. That this is not a waste of resources. Ukrainians love America, and they do, and they're grateful for American support. But they're more like Americans in most other countries, especially with their attachment to freedom. They're willing to die for freedom, and I think that gives them a bit of a right to define what freedom is. But because of this, they have a lot of know-how. And especially when it comes to drones, Ukrainians have incredible technology. As I've mentioned before, the U.S. defense industry has not been paying attention, sort of in their arrogance. And as we look at the fear in America right now about whatever's happening with the drones, Ukrainians can give a lot of answers on this.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
Among those close to Trump, they're perfectly willing to speak, including J.D. Vance, to praise Poland for standing up for, against communism and tyranny and standing up for traditional values. They'll praise Poland, but Ukraine and Poland have so many similarities on these scores. And also, Ukrainians are actually fighting for it now. And I'm mystified by this. Like, why are people, including J.D. Vance, so willing to praise Poland, but then they castigate or dismiss Ukraine? Why? Why is this? Because the Poles and Ukrainians can see, despite all the different histories, now they're so similar in their beliefs for freedom and.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
And I've seen, especially as we go into Christmas here, you see that in Eastern Ukraine, the Soviets they controlled it more, and they did so much to. They killed many of them in the Holodomor, the Great Famine of the 30s under Stalin, and they broke tradition, and so, for example, people still in the East, they celebrate New Year's instead of Christmas, which would, by the way, that's what Russia does. People don't celebrate Christmas in Russia; they celebrate New Year's, and in Western Ukraine, it was not as long under the Soviet tyranny, and the people were able to hold on to their traditions more. So Western Ukraine is incredibly religious. The churches are packed. People know that, you go right now, if you walk through the streets of Lviv, you'll hear people singing everywhere in cafes and bars, singing Christmas songs. That is so vibrant. It's one of the most vibrant places for that in the world, part of it because it was under threat. And what I've seen now in the wartime is that when I go to places in the East, they are recovering these traditions that were lost during Soviet times. And I'm just amazed that American especially American conservatives, that they missed that story. It's everything they claim to really care about, and they're missing this great battle and this great, actually a successful recovery of so much that was lost and nearly destroyed during the Soviet times. And now it's being, it's on the verge of being destroyed again by rockets and missiles, not only from Russia, but from North Korea and Iran.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
Yeah, until that day of, as I said on the radio on Monday, I always imagined my last broadcast would be my dying breaths under the rubble after a missile strike, or ideally the day after victory. Saying, "Look what we have all achieved together."
Thank you for introducing Ukraine on your social media pages. That's very important that much more people can get more information about the situation here and how everybody can help Ukraine to stay stronger and to save all the world.
Что он сказал?
Well, which side are you on?
На чьей ты стороне? На чьей ты стороне?